Black Panther is a superhero film released in February of 2018, which is kind of bananas because at this point it's had such a huge cultural impact that it feels like it's been around for a lot longer. Or maybe 2018 has just felt really long for other reasons. Anyway, people kind of really liked it, and I guess it might be one of the top 5 greatest superhero films ever made, which is pretty neat, given that it features a cast primarily made up of people of color, providing a bunch of awesome role models for children of genders and races which have typically been underrepresented in movies such as this. So yeah, it's a pretty fucking remarkable piece of cinema. But though nearly everyone seems to agree that it's incredible, when people are asked why that is, they seem to come up with a wide variety of answers. This is indicative of what we in the biz call a really fucking good movie, and could fuel hours of videos devoted to dissecting what exactly makes it so good. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on what it is that makes Black Panther such a fantastic movie for me. From my very unique perspective as a white male in America, I feel that what appeals to me most about Black Panther is the synergy of its storytelling. Basically what I mean by this is that typically films will have a surface level conflict, which parallels a thematic conflict, which is usually made more apparent through a character's internal conflict and arc. The director of this film does such a good job placing these two things in parallel to one another that the effect is an incredibly tight and meaningful narrative with very little fat and a whole lot of awesome. The surface level and underlying themes of the movie come together in perfect harmony to create a single cohesive narrative more effective than either could be on their own. I could leave it at that, but I think it's a lot more fun to go a little more into depth. So let's do that. So basically the surface level conflict of this movie is that T'Chaka, T'Challa's father, abandons his brother's son, Killmonger, to live in America, which sucks pretty bad if you're not a white male. As a result of being cheated out of a life in a literal paradise, Killmonger grows up to be super bitter and becomes a huge threat to both the continued existence of Wakanda as well as the safety of the world at large. This series of events is a metaphor for how Wakanda left the world to its own devices rather than using its power to help make it a better place. This ties into the recurring theme of tradition and the question of whether or not a tradition which has been successful thus far should ever be challenged in pursuit of improving it. The mantra of Wakanda is Wakanda forever! Wakanda forever! A phrase which is a literal testament to their overwhelming commitment to making certain that Wakanda continues to exist. Seemingly every action that Wakanda as a unified nation has taken since its founding has been in pursuit of this primary goal, and the apparent success of these actions became the basis for the traditions they hold in such high esteem. Wakanda equates its traditions with its national security. They don't want to consider the possibility that improvements could or should be made upon their traditions, because they fear that any changes could put their future into jeopardy. And honestly, given what they've watched go down over the last few centuries, I can't really blame them for being a bit hesitant to mess with something that's been working for a while. At the beginning of the film, T'Challa's commitment to tradition is established through an interaction between he and his sister.
I'm here for the EMP beads. I've developed an update.
Update? No, it worked perfectly.
How many times do I have to teach you? Just because something works doesn't mean that it cannot be improved.
You are teaching me. What do you know?
Just because something works doesn't mean it cannot be improved, is a perfect summation of Shuri's thoughts of tradition, and the exact opposite of T'Challa's. Unlike his sister, T'Challa wants nothing more than to continue doing what his father, who he idolizes, had done before him, which is preserving the status quo. From his point of view, the fact that Wakanda has both survived and thrived under this system is justification that there should be no changes made to it. But as the flaws of his father come to light, and the traditions his people are bound by come to be taken advantage of, he realizes that even a seemingly perfect system should not be excluded from improvement. His subsequent internal conflict revolves around his grappling with this knowledge, that his father, whom he had previously viewed as a pretty much perfect human being and leader, had made a decision that appears to be both unethical and potentially disastrous for both the nation and the world. This conflict is at the core of T'Challa's character arc, and pretty much every plot, subplot, detail is in service to it.
Then I ask, do you kill him where he stands, or you bring him back to us?
You have my word. I will bring him back.
The seeds which facilitate T'Challa's eventual character development are illustrated in the few decisions he makes which disregard tradition. These decisions show us that despite his words, there genuinely is some conflict between what T'Challa believes to be right and what tradition dictates. The most notable instance of his own ethical system overriding his devotion to tradition is when he chooses to bring the fatally wounded CIA agent Everett back to Wakanda to heal him.
It is your duty to protect
I'm well aware
ours.
of my duties, General. I cannot just let him die, knowing we can save him.
Where exactly are we taking him?
Tradition would prioritize the secrecy of Wakanda over the well-being of any one person, but T'Challa still chooses to save the outsider at the risk of jeopardizing the continued security of his nation. As T'Challa struggles through the transitional period of his character arc, Killmonger preys upon this inner turmoil in order to usurp him. He puts T'Challa into situations that reveal the side of him that conflicts with tradition, and then uses these transgressions of tradition as justification that T'Challa is unfit to be king. Ironically, as soon as Killmonger assumes the throne, he completely throws out the traditions which he preyed upon to gain power, aptly cutting off anyone from doing to him what he did to T'Challa. Killmonger is a wake-up call for both T'Challa and the rest of Wakandan society. He is the result of T'Chaka abandoning one of their own to the horrors of the outside world.
I lived my entire life waiting for this moment. I trained, I lied, I killed, just to get here. I killed in America, Afghanistan, Iraq. I took life from my own brothers and sisters right here on this continent. And all this death, just so I could kill you.
The result was a monster capable of destroying Wakanda and everything they had worked for. The realization that both T'Challa and Wakanda collectively come to is that Wakanda has been abandoning the rest of the world when they could be trying to improve it, and that by doing so, they may inadvertently be creating an enemy even more dangerous than Killmonger. This realization is what leads T'Challa to abandon absolute adherence to tradition in pursuit of progress. When faced with genuine negative repercussions of his nation's traditions, he quickly realizes that in order for Wakanda to truly be forever, they must work to make the outside world a place conducive to Wakanda's survival, rather than shutting it out.
My name is King T'Challa, son of King T'Chaka. I am the sovereign ruler of the nation of Wakanda. And for the first time in our history, we will be sharing our knowledge and resources with the outside world. Wakanda will no longer watch from the shadows. We cannot. We must not. We will work to be an example of how we as brothers and sisters on this earth should treat each other. Now more than ever, the illusions of division threaten our very existence. We all know the truth. More connects us than separates us. But in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers.
So in summation, the core conflict within T'Challa is choosing between preserving tradition and presumably guaranteeing absolute safety for his people, or using Wakanda's resources to make the world a better place at the possible expense of his nation's safety and future. He chooses the greater good when he realizes that his father abandoning Killmonger created a monster capable of destroying their nation, and that abandoning the world itself could create something equally terrible, if not worse.